I'll never be able to look at a mannequin the same way again after what happened last night. It's the stuff of nightmares, the kind of thing that makes you question reality itself. Even now, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up just thinking about it. It started like any other night working the closing shift at Vintage Trends, the retro clothing store at the mall where I've worked for the past 2 years. It was around 10 p.m. and I was doing my usual end-of-night duties, straightening up the showroom floor, redressing the mannequins in the window displays for the next morning. I headed to the back stockroom to grab a fresh outfit for the female mannequin when I heard a strange noise. It sounded almost like breathing, harsh, ragged breaths, like someone was struggling for air. I froze, straining my ears, but the store was empty and silent aside from the dull hum of the overhead lights. Shaking it off as my imagination playing tricks, I grabbed a ruby red dress from the rack and headed back out to the showroom window. That's when I saw her. The mannequin was in a completely different pose than before. Her arm extended outwards and her with hands splayed like she was beckoning me over. My heart jumped into my throat as I brushed it off as a silly prank by one of my coworkers who forgot to reset her. I quickly readjusted her into a more natural stance and began undressing her to put on the new outfit. That's when I felt it, something ice cold and clammy on the back of my neck. I spun around with a startled cry, coming face to face with the mannequin mere inches away. Her glassy eyes bored straight into mine, her teeth clenched into a skeletal grin. She looked hungry, feral, unnatural in a way that set every alarm bell ringing in my mind. Then she moved, jerking upwards with a bone-chilling creak and emitting a high-pitched cackle that raised the hairs on my arms. Before my brain could process what was happening, she lashed out, swiping at me with her razor-sharp nails. I stumbled backwards, letting loose a scream of pure terror as she advanced again. That's when a voice rang out through the store. "Hey, over here, you dumb plastic psycho." My manager Eddie stood in the doorway of the stockroom, waving a metal pipe menacingly. The mannequin seemed to hesitate, her dead eyes flickering between us, before turning stiffly towards Eddie with another gurgling laugh. As she lurched in his direction with uncanny speed, poor Eddie let out a howl of agony as her nails raked across his face. He collapsed to the floor in a heap, blood gushing from the fresh gashes while the mannequin stood over him, lips peeled back in a silent shriek. That was my cue to get the hell out of there. I scrambled backwards, fumbling for my phone with shaking hands to call the police. And that's when I saw it out of the corner of my eye, movement in the alcove behind the mannequin. A dark, hunched figure emerged, silhouetted against the shadows. A wheezing chuckle that turned my blood to ice escaped its twisted lips. As it shambled into the dim light, I recoiled in revulsion. It was like someone had stitched together a patchwork human form from random body parts and plastic mannequin pieces. One arm ended in a rigid plastic hand while the other was repulsively organic, the elongated fingers twitching as it reached for me. Its unnaturally wide mouth twisted into an approximation of a smile, revealing razor-sharp teeth. The mannequin shrieked again, responding to some unspoken command from its twisted creator. They began advancing as one, hell-bent on dragging me into the shadows to become another piece of their repugnant flesh sculpture. I turned and ran, adrenaline spiking as I heard the clattering footsteps closing in behind me. I'm still running. If you're reading this, please, watch out for anything that moves when it shouldn't. Humanity was wrong to try and sculpt life from wax and plastic. Some creations were never meant to walk among us.